Professionals of Color group. So today, Viniti and I are going to be talking about something really specific. We put up a poll last week on the group, and we heard a lot of you say that career vision and strategy is sort of the key thing that you'd want to hear about and know about. And that's sort of your priority for the next 6 months. And so we've been chatting about how we can, assist you and support you in that process. So today we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. And Viniti, I might start off by asking you the question first. So, we didn't take the poll. We put up the options in the poll. There are 5 different options that we put up. But if I was to ask you in the past, which of these has worked the best for you, what would you say?
First of all, good evening, everybody. And hi, Sangeeta. I think, we chat behind the screen before going live, but people don't, I suppose, realize the effort that goes behind, arranging these things. So thank you for making this happen, and absolutely would love to see more people join us on live and get more interactive with us and asking us more and more questions, so we can kind of specifically answer or help people overcome their stuck state at wherever they are related to their career. It's a great question that you asked, that which has worked for you the best. I have to be honest, each one of them have a place in a career progression. One without the other would be incomplete. So if I did not have a vision, I wouldn't go out there and network with the right set of people. So each of those, I suppose, options have a very unique place to play in career progression. And in that order too, knowing where to go, who to talk to is so critical. Once you know where you want to go, without knowing where you're going, you wouldn't know where to look for. And it's an interesting thing, because I was recently in a group where I was asking this question from a lot of professionals around what has been the biggest challenge. And they mentioned that, finding the right groups to network has been the challenge. But the reality is that to know which group you need to be a part of, you need to know where you're going, if it makes sense. You need to have a vision. Which role are you targeting, or which job are you trying to target, to know which groups to target, people you need to talk to, coach or mentor in that field you need to know. So each one of them is absolutely necessary, and they go hand in hand, one after the other. But interesting, because you are you're moving into an entrepreneur journey. I'm curious to know, how does all these 5 steps play out in entrepreneurship? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think very similar, right? When you start off, whether it's in a corporate career or whether it's in a business, having a vision is so important. Like, just knowing where you're going is the most important part, right? So where do you want to go? And I'll be honest with you, like, not every time during my career have I been super clear on where I want to go. Like, there have been times when I've had like real clarity, this is where I'm headed and this is where I want to go. But I think there are times that, you're not fully clear where you're headed or what you're going to do. And I think this is where it's really, realizing the power of that becomes crucial, and reflecting, when you had that clarity and when you don't, the kind of actions you take make a difference. Like, they really change, right? They really vary. And so having that vision is super important, even in a business, as much as it is in a career. It's just about it's once you've got that vision, then it's putting that plan together to how to get from point A, where you are, to point B, where you want to go. It's super important. And then also see the other aspects that it was actually a trick poll in a sense, because, you have the vision strategy piece up here, but then all the other pieces like networking, having your coaches and mentors, having your, upskilling yourself, getting more experience in your job. They're all pieces of your strategy, of that plan that you put together. And I think that's where, but just identifying that the vision is the first piece to do becomes super important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So obviously, when we're talking about this, we kind of agree that all those five things are important, and we wanted to gauge what people thought was important. And it was interesting to see that everybody had a vision or a strategy in place to be the top, majority of them who actually participated in the poll. So first of all, thank you to all those who actually, stepped up and decided to participate in the poll. And then talking about the top one being the vision, which is where you start. It is interesting how many people struggle to have the vision. So how, I'm curious to know, what was that moment for you personally where you had this light bulb moment of saying, okay, this is my vision, this is it?
Different things, right? So let me maybe a quick story around that. So maybe when I came to Australia, when I landed here, it was really interesting. I was walking out of the airport, and I think I've shared the story before of having very little money. I was a student. I had a huge loan and a debt on my head and things like that. But when I walked and I think I landed in Sydney airport, and I remember walking out of the airport, and there was this huge sign of PwC. Right, and I walked past and I said, I'm coming. So even stuff like that is vision enough, right? Just sort of knowing that there's somewhere you want to be. Maybe you're not there right now, you want to get there at some point in time. Anything that gives you that sort of an excitement. And I didn't end up at PwC, but I ended up at EY instead. So, same but different. But having said that, like when that's the direction you want to go in, I think it becomes, again, that super clarity piece comes in, and you know where you're headed. So I think that's how you start, I suppose. Having a vision is really that one thing that sparks something within you. It just tells you, yep, this is it. This is something that it hits your heart. Like I didn't look at anything else and say that. It was that particular thing. And so it's the same for a number of different people. I think, what you might like, I might not. And, that every person is unique, and just realizing that you don't have to be someone else and your vision is yours. And it has to align with who you are. And, it comes from the inside a little bit for me. Like it's a gut thing rather than a, head thing.
Yeah. But true. And yeah. So, interestingly, you say that because this is one of the things that as a life coach, that's my number one thing, coaching anybody is to really know where you're headed. And in all reality, people don't even understand what is a vision. So to create a vision, you need to even understand what is a vision. So what I wanted to really do today is talk about what is a vision. How is it different from having a goal? And truly, vision is, as you put it, it's more personal. It's a goal. Absolutely. It's a goal with a bit of emotions in it. So you are pretty much putting yourself in achieving that goal and seeing yourself achieving that goal and feeling the feelings or the emotions that come with those goals. So it's a little bit more than just having a goal. It's, it's got a lot of other sensory elements attached to it around what are you seeing when you're achieving that goal. So when you looked at that PwC, you looked at that and I'm like, oh, what would it feel like to be working there? And I want to have that feeling when I'm working there. So there's so much more to a vision. And a lot of times when you go into this vision sessions, they use a lot of visual cues. And there is a science behind that around how our brain responds to visual cues as compared to being told. We spoke about my goal when I was 9 years old of flying in air. But truly, if I converted that into the vision, was I wanted to experience the feeling of being in a business class. That was the vision I had. So the difference between simply having a goal and truly having a vision is that you put yourself in that goal and you attach yourself so emotionally with that goal that you start to uncover the avenues to reach there. Whereas a goal written in a piece of paper may not be as attractive as it is having a vision. So I think that's something that I wanted to clarify when the people are looking at this, to understand what truly is a vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, like, that's a great distinction, right? Because to me, goals are, those steps towards the vision. You break that vision down into smaller sort of achievable steps that you then set as goals for yourself to achieve within a certain time frame, or to sort of walk that path to get to that vision. And I think, like with business as well, that's exactly what I help a lot of my clients do, is that vision part becomes so important. Like, why are you building a business? Are you building a business just to make money and replace your 9-to-5 job, or are you building the business because you have a bigger vision, a bigger purpose to wanting to build it? And then how do you achieve that purpose? The money will come, but how do you achieve that purpose? What do you do in the meantime to achieve that purpose and make sure the actions you're doing can be monetized? And I feel like that's how if I had to translate that into a business sort of piece and how I help my clients on that journey, I suppose that's how you would navigate that topic.
Yeah. I think vision becomes very, very, I suppose, the buildings, stone, like you've got to start from there. And the beauty of having a vision, or why, like, firstly, why you're doing it, and that's so important to do it. But also it becomes a very big driver, I believe, in terms of every goal that you will set up, as long as you can connect it back to your why. And it's coming back to the topic of, where do I go for networking? If I am in a medical field, or I am in a corporate field, or I am a nurse, I'm in administrative job, where do I find the people? The point is, you need to have a vision. And once you have a vision, you will identify the places you need to hang out, the people who are influential in those areas, who can help you and support you grow. But without a vision, it's if I had to compare this, and I was recently watching a Bollywood movie where the actor takes out a map to find out this destination he had to go, and me and my husband looked at that and I said, why is he looking at the map? Well, what happened to the GPS? And then we realized it wasn't the era, there wasn't any GPS. You knew where you had to go, but you had to spend multitude of time to get there, because there wasn't a direct way to get there, and you have to ask people. You're so lost, you might take wrong turns and things like that. So having that destination defined and clearly stated, the mentor or the coach can give you the shortest path to that place. So it's like a GPS to your vision. So it's so important to have that vision. Otherwise, where are you going? You're waking up this morning and you've been given a direction, you've been given a task to finish. You're going to your job, you're completing today's task, but where does it fit into your vision? It fits into the organization's vision, absolutely. But where is it fitting into your vision? And that is such an important aspect that people need to kind of distinguish. It's good to have alignment, but it is equally important to know, is it even aligned? Are you just following somebody else's vision, or you have your own, and what you're doing is taking you towards that vision?
Yeah. It reminds me of a story when we talk about, when we were kids, like a lot of times, and probably we do it as well, we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And many kids do have an answer, like they have a very clear answer. I want to be a doctor, or I want to be astronaut, I want to be like my dad, or, whatever it is. And in Father's Day commemoration, I suppose, I'm sure a lot of kids said, I want to be just like you're my hero, and things like that, right? But having said that, like, kids are very clear on what their vision is, what they want to become when they grow up. But somehow, as we navigate life and come to our 20s and then our 30s, somewhere, do you find with the people that you work with and you coach, do you find that that vision piece starts getting harder for them, or they get lost as to what their vision should be? How do you see that with the people that you work with as a life coach?
Very good question, because the reason it gets lost, it's because we learn behaviors. There are imprints that are, put on us as we grow, and there's nothing wrong about those imprints. It's just the imprints, and we all have very, very unique imprints. And I can, talk about the imprint in its own, session. But vision is not, limited to goal and emotion, but also the values that you have been instilled as growing up. And why professional of colors have a bit of a struggle, which I see in creating that vision and that goal, because the value system is very, very different. Dreaming big, trying to go out of our little well is a challenge, because we are told to do away with what you have been provided with. You've got to learn to live with the limitation. You've got to live with what you have. So being able to vision something that is out of your boundaries of limitations that have been created is the number one challenge. When I work with people outside of professional of color, creating a goal and a vision is one session done. But with experience, I've seen when I go through the journey of creating a goal with professional of color, they are so held back because they have been told to hold back. They have grown up to learn to hold back. Helping them breaking out that little, I suppose, a bubble is a challenge in itself, and it can take a couple of sessions just to get them to say, that's not your goal, that is your parents' goal. They wanted you to be a CEO of an organization. What is that you want to be? What is your vision? And it's very hard to distinguish that. And it takes, a lot of practice, I suppose, even creating goals, going little by little, like going to 3-year vision, going for 5-year vision, going for 20-year vision. But, it's a habit, and it takes time and practice. And I always tell everybody who comes to me with that kind of question, say, be kind to yourself. You're doing it for the first time. It takes time. It takes practice. And when you listen to people like yourself, it's like, oh wow, she walked out of the airport with nothing, and she had a vision of PwC. But most of the people will have that vision and they'll brush it off.
Yeah,
that's not possible. It's limitations of growing up. So overcoming that barrier, understanding that we don't have to live somebody else's vision. We can have our own goal. We can build our own values, and get to understand what we feel is important and crucial to actually become successful in whichever path you're walking, be it entrepreneurship or be in corporate. So I think that's such an important part of creating a vision.
Yeah, well said. I'll just sort of remind anybody who's watching us right now, if you have questions for us, do feel free to put it in the comments section, because we'll be happy to chat about it and, give you our take on it. Okay, so I'm going to keep continuing, because I do have an important question for you. So, in creating that vision or that strategy for your career goals and for your career progression, how important is it, one, to consider other people, but also number two, to have other people be part of that designing process?
It's important to have people, but who you have in that journey is even more important, right? You will never have everybody like you. And this is something, no matter how good you are in your genre or in your art, there are going to be people who would challenge what you want to do or what you're doing or what you believe in. So having people is crucial, but not everybody is there to support you and have your vision. So very early on, even in my, changing of career, going from being in a corporate business to going into, running my business, I had people telling me, what the hell are you doing? This has nothing to do with what you have spent your 15 years of experience in. You're just, flipping it over. But I had a vision, and my husband was number one, he was really supportive. He said, no, you go for it. Then I had to convert my parents, because they thought, what the hell? You're going to have a comfortable, money getting into your account. You're going to have nothing coming through it. So you got to select. You have to be very selective of the people you want to have in your journey. And you have to talk about it, because the more you talk about it, there's energy that is, you're floating. You can convert. One of the quotes that I read very early on, which stuck to me when I was changing my career, was, first they laugh at you, and then they follow you. And it's 100% true. There is not an inch that I could talk about that saying to say it's not true. There were people who were against opposing the whole concept. And then those were the people who were a convert when they see the transformation. So having people is absolutely important. I speak about this as I've spoken about this very early on in my blog as to, the 5 people you need in your life who would support. And I distinguish between mentor and the coach as well. A lot of people confuse mentor and coach as a same person. They're not. And there's a clear distinction. Mentor is a person who has walked the path you're trying to walk, whereas coach may or may not have walked the path you're trying to walk. They have a totally different role to play. And I picked up my coach, who was absolutely not from the corporate, had nothing to do with the corporate, and gave me such a different view to life that a mentor would have not been able to do. The second thing being with mentor is they would only give you response to what they have done, and it may not be applicable for your circumstances. Everybody is unique. You are special. Everybody's got a gift, right? Just don't limit yourself by having a mentor who's got somewhere with specific set of behaviors or specific set of actions. Don't get limited by that. So choosing who you choose as people in your life to move forward is absolutely critical. I think this is a very good question that applies for yourself, Sangeeta, because you did exactly the same thing. So, tell me a little bit more about the people that you chose and how did that assist you in your growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, there's 2 things, right? People who are in the journey with you and people who can help you design the journey, right? And sometimes that crosses over as well. And I think for people who are in the journey, you definitely have to consider your family, people who are living with you day in and day out. And if you choose to do something, if you choose to walk a particular path, you have to have that support system. I say this to my clients as well that I work with. So at the moment, I'm working with 2 ladies, they're sisters, and between them, they have 6 kids, right? They have 6 kids, and both their husbands do business, and they're trying to get into a business together. So managing a business, managing a family it takes a toll on you, right? And it's how do you make sure you're supported by those people, by that family, is super important in how successful you can get with your business, how successful you can get with walking that path. So making sure that the vision you're creating is not created in isolation. It's something that you have to discuss with people around you and garner their support. I call it sort of building your support system really early on is super important. And whether it's in a support system that is of colleagues and friends, or whether that is a system of, your family, you have to have all these in place. There have to be friends. You have to find your first crew, and that is your first crew. As a business owner, you might be starting off solo initially, but you have to find a crew that will walk with you, And sometimes a fun game that I get people to do is also appoint people as head of something, right? Head of happiness, for example. If there's that one person in your family who always makes you smile, who can always put a smile on your face when you're having the worst day at work or the worst day in your business, that's your head of happiness, So if you were an organization, would you have a chief of something, a head of something, like what would they be? My head of talking sense into me, my head of realities, so just have those things and sign them up to join you on the journey that you're going on, and sign up to join them on theirs as well. So that's a really fun way to sort of, make it something that people enjoy being on the journey with you. And especially with business, sometimes it can get really, really hard, just hard work, and it's not so much fun. And then there are days that you can make it super fun. So it's just about how you cultivate that fun. But yeah, mentors and coaches, you made a really good point. It's really important to have mentors and coaches. And I was just thinking about this a while ago, like a lot of us, especially from a colored background, we haven't seen our sort of parents or people who've been generations before us invest in coaches or mentors. A lot of times they have either relied on friends or family or just advice from other people and moved along in life. And that is distinctly different from how you see some other cultures do it. And many of the other cultures, especially European cultures, and in the US and UK, this is like super, super big, is finding the right coach or mentor and paying for it. Like we don't tend to, as Indians, I know this, for that's true of me, or I haven't done it right in the first few years of my life, where I just thought it was okay to go talk to somebody once in a while, and that's about it. That's a mentor, that's a coach. And every time you're not feeling good about things, just find somebody in your network that you can talk to. But having somebody who understands you inside out is different. And being able to work with them, invest the time and the money on finding mentors and coaches. And mentors don't have to be free. Coaches don't have to be free. Like you pay for them, but you pay them as an investment in yourself. It's an investment that you're making to push yourself forward, to move yourself forward. And this I learned after a lot of hard knocks, right? Like a lot of times it was like, why do I need to spend money on this? We usually, as people of color, I think we tend to focus a lot on other people, and we tend to spend a lot on other people, like our family, call our friends if you like, but we never really spend on ourselves, in uplifting ourselves. We spend on clothes and food and all of those things. How much do you really spend on progressing your skill set and moving yourself forward, unless you see a direct monetary outcome? So it's sort of keeping those things in mind, that these are more for the bigger picture, the mentors and coaches.
Absolutely. I think it's again, it's the imprint that we have grown up with, not spending money on things like this, because we have not seen the value coming through it, and it's changing a lot in the environment we are in. And I am pleasantly surprised to see that people are opening up to these. I did, and I know I gained a lot of advantage of it, and I still continue to do. I have a whole, pool of coaches I can get into if I wanted to. So that's kind of, been useful for me. But before we continue, I've got a couple of questions there, and I think, it's a good place to start. And it's a beautiful question, which, we always have a debate around, is should one rationalize their vision? Guess where I'm coming from is understanding the difference between daydreaming and vision. So what's your take on that, Sangeeta?
So yes and no. I'm like a big picture person, so go as big as you can. And aim for the moon, you land on the stars, right? So it's sort of like that. So yes, you can I'll say this with a bit of caution, right? You dream and go as big as you can, but you allow enough room that if things change, you're ready to adapt. You're ready to sort of change to those things. So, a lot of times life gets in the way, and you have to be prepared for that. So when you're saying rationalize your vision, saying, oh, that's a great big vision, but I can't really get there. Or, but I need X, Y, Z to get there. So I don't know, I'm not sure. So I think visions have to be realistic. But having said that, I wouldn't limit yourself. Like, a lot of times, I mean, if the big companies like Apple, Google, and these guys had limited themselves, they would not have been as big as they are today. So I'm giving you a business example here, but there's also people like Simon Sinek, or if you look at all these people who've really made a name for themselves and really created a brand just for themselves. They obviously had that vision, like they wanted to go somewhere, they wanted to get somewhere. Maybe they overshot their vision, maybe they undershot their vision, and that doesn't really matter. The point is that you have something to work towards. And I think for me, that's my sort of take, is I wouldn't say daydreaming and vision are like, I wouldn't compare the two. Like daydreaming could be I'm sitting on a beach and having a Coke while while I'm supposed to be working and getting a lot of shit done. Or is my vision is for me that is sort of daydreaming in a sense. But hey, if I could make that true, why not, right? If I could automate all my business work so that I don't have to lift a finger and I'm still sort of doing what I love doing, that would be great. So I think for me, it's like, I always go big, just go big. And then you can work
as big as you can. No, absolutely. I think, as you said, they aren't comparable. I don't think so. Daydreaming is anything same as a vision. Vision is something really, you can feel it, right? Daydreaming, you don't feel it. You got to feel it. You got to feel the goal. And a step before you go into vision is actually having a goal. You have to have a goal. And there is a structure called SMART goals. And whoever is listening to this, you can Google it. Have a SMART goal, and the SMART goal talks about being very specific, it has to be realistic, it has to be measurable. The moment you put those elements into your vision and you can picturize those elements in your vision, it's no more a daydreaming. It becomes as real as something you can touch and feel. And again, one of the ways we do vision is visualizing it. So, dreaming is imagining things. Visualizing is slightly different. You're not imagining, you're actually being in the dream and feeling what it feels like. And you become practical. Like you could dream about aliens, but imagining how you're going to feel when you're with aliens, it's a totally different thing, right? And you would change. You will immediately flip from that point to say, this is not real, this is not going to happen. So there's a bit of a difference between daydreaming and having a vision. Absolutely. You've got to be careful when we are talking about the two things. Going as big, absolutely. I think vision needs to be, the sky is the limit. You got to think about it. And if you don't know where you're going, you will never start. So to get started, you have to have a vision. I'm going to go to Purni's question. Should we consider the pros and cons while choosing a new path, or it doesn't matter and we should keep going with our vision and learn on the way and tweak our strategies?
Okay. So for me, I think I touched upon this on the earlier question also. I think you have to allow room to tweak. You have to allow room to sort of, shift gears if something happens that was not planned for. But weighing up pros and cons, I think 100%. So when you're jumping ship from, say, a corporate job and wanting to start a business, or let's say you want to shift into a completely different profession, weighing up pros and cons are super important. But also the pros and cons need to be weighed up in relation to what's important to you, not what's important to somebody else, not what's important to, say, your parents, or, of course you need to consider your family and consider what it will be like if you choose to shift gears. What is it that's going to happen to them? But I think how important is that for you? That's how you sort of do it. One of the things that you can do with pros and cons also is to rank them. Because sometimes you might write a list of, like 20 pros but 40 cons, and you might think, oh my God, this is, more cons than pros, so hey, not meant to do. But sometimes you might just have cons, right? So just sort of pick the top ones that are really valuable to you and say, why, what are the top 3 pros and what are the top 3 cons of this, and then weigh those out, because that becomes important in then determining whether or not you go on the new path. And having said that, there's always a way, to do things in small steps. Like you don't have to immediately shift gears into a new path, or there's ways that you can start slow and small. So after you've done the pros and cons, I think there's still ways that you can get to it if your heart still desires. Like on paper, the cons might look really, really big, but because your heart still desires for you to do it, there might be ways you can find to do it, for sure.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think a couple of things there I can pick up is flexibility. So, I talk about 5 principles of success, and one of the principles of success is absolute flexibility and noticing where you're going. So yes, you have a vision and you've weighed your pros and cons and you've started going at your vision, which you will, because usually visions are irresistible. You just, once you have created it, you have stuck a vision board in front of you, you would just wake up to it and you would want to do something about it every day, even if it's the smallest thing, even if it's just making that call, or even if it's just putting that ad, or looking for marketing, or learning a new skill. It's just, this is how vision works. Equally important is to follow your heart and your gut. We have over the years been trained not to listen to our heart and gut. We have been told, evaluate everything. Listen to your brain. What is your brain telling you? And our brain is only there to make, I think, numbers, or, crunch the numbers, or, evaluation. but it is also important to align your heart and your gut, to make sure when you're taking a decision, it's a decision taken by your heart, but your gut and your brain is also agreeing with that decision, because most of the times when you flutter from your path of success is when you are in misalignment. So how can I give you an example? A gut is something that moves you. Gut, if you get that feeling in your gut of fear. So the fear is, you feel it in your gut, and you're like, this doesn't feel right, doing this or making this call. And I can tell you, when I had a vision of running a life coaching business, and I went, and I think we should talk about this, Sangeeta, how we got to know each other. It was funny because I had a vision. I'm going to have a very successful life coaching business, and I went on LinkedIn and I said, how do I even start? Who do I even contact? And because I was in such an alignment with my vision, my gut said it's okay to reach out to strangers. And I reached out to Sangeeta, and we connected, and she responded. And let me tell you, I connected with 100 people, out of which maybe 20 people responded, and all 20 of those are right now in contact with me through LinkedIn and in very good terms. So it was my gut which was in alignment with my vision, and it made me move. It made me take an action. So it's so important to have that alignment when you have a vision. And if you think that something that you're doing is not working, and which will happen, you need to reevaluate yourself. And this is where you take help from coaches or mentors or, chief of happiness, because you're not feeling right about doing something, or, chief your strategy. What is that I'm not doing right at the moment? I'm not feeling it. I'm not moving. When you start to feel stuck, that is the time you need to look outside for some help. That is a sign that you need somebody from outside to navigate you through. If don't, that means you're just going, you go full head on towards your vision, because, you're just in alignment. Every action you take, you got a result, and you keep moving. One of the other important thing with vision is being careful of listening to your inner voice. It's such a non-spoken thing, but, we've got this little voice at the back of our head from amygdala, whose primary job is to scare you. That's all. It's only there, the little brain, the tiny brain that we have. It's a primitive brain, and it's been there purely to protect you, and protect you from, in olden days, it would protect you from physical attack from animals or, other people. But over the years, it's developed to protect you from fear of seen, fear of being heard, fear of being judged, fear of what will people say, what will people think, how would people feel. It's all, it perceives that as a fear. And unfortunately, we are more as human used to taking a decisions based on fear. So you got to be very careful with what your voice is saying, and there are strategies to deal with that as well, and I do it every day. People who know me, they kind of do say, I'm not fearful. I'm a fearless person. And the reason I'm fearless is not because I don't fear. I just have strategies to kind of, curb my fear. And there are, numerous strategies. So, coming back to, the questions that have been asked is, vision is a vision. Just don't judge it. I think, don't let your fear get better of you to make a decision on your vision, what people would say and things like that. And be flexible as you navigate towards your vision, to identify early on what steps or strategies are working, what are not working. And if you had hit the roof, there is absolutely no problem going out and asking somebody to help you navigate through those, points, which we all do time to time. Asking help is, I think, the greatest thing to do. I've done that numerous times, but I think that's so important. And just being very careful of your inner voice, which is there for a purpose, but not always helpful.
Yeah. So on that note, and I know we've overshot time, we plan to keep these under 30 minutes. So, you get good value, and, you're not running late for tomorrow morning's first meeting tomorrow morning. So what Viniti and I have been speaking about is how do we help people craft their visions, their career visions, and their strategies around it. And we would love to be able to. So today we've given you a little peek about what we think vision is and how you can put that together. But we're planning to run a 5-day challenge, which will start on the 5th of July and run to the 9th of July. And in those 5 days, there will be small tasks that will be allocated to help you build a vision. So whether you already have a vision or you do not have a vision at all, you will definitely take away some value from this, because it's really going to help you either sharpen the vision that you have now, or build a brand new vision for yourself if you don't have any. And we'll also look at different ways that we can build in strategies around that vision, coming on the back of once you've built that vision. So we've got a few things planned and lined up for you. And if you'd love to participate in this and, get to learn a bit more about your career vision and your career progression, drop us a comment here. Just let us know, just say yes, or, whatever, yes, I would love to, or whatever you want, or the word vision, whatever you want to put in, to just let us know if you're keen to participate, so that we can go away and start putting this together for you guys. Also, I'd also extend the offer out to other people within your networks and groups who are professionals of color. Just invite them into this group, because the challenge will be run within the group. So if you're not in the group, you miss out on the challenge. So, and it's a free challenge. We're not charging you anything. It's just something that we're putting together because we realized we have done a lot of work with our own clients around this, and it'll be helpful to share some of that with this community. Anything else that you'd like to add, Viniti?
No, but I think that's it. Without holding on anybody, and there are people in this group who have actually seen one of the clients have seen their vision coming true very recently. So they have come back to me and said, thank you for giving me that vision and stuff like that. And if she's hearing, I would love to hear from her. I know she's not online, but it's important to have a vision. I cannot insist that anymore. And if you already have one, bring that along. Let's evaluate against the 5-day challenge. If you don't have one, let's just build one for you for absolutely nothing. All you got to do is bring around more people. One of the things that we would really, really request is help others. If it is not an important thing for you, it's absolutely okay. There are a lot of people out there that can get value of these lives or even these 5-day challenges. It's just one of the many that we are running. So please go out there, invite your friends and your families relevant here, and help them build a vision. And who knows, you might be a part of that vision.
Yeah, well said. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to keep engaged for the rest of the week as well. We'll throw out some more stuff around vision and strategy for the rest of this week, and then we'll talk a bit more next week as well in our live on Monday next week, perhaps. And we'll let you know when the next live is, and hope you can tune in for that.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Good night.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.